and welcome to the Aromareflex Massage part of the course. So we're extending the massage that we might normally do in our reflexology for two reasons. One, we want to get more medium onto the lower legs and feet, have more surface area, so you get more oil absorption. And also it's nice to differentiate your treatment. So if you're selling Aromareflex separately than normal reflexology, it's nice for it to feel a bit different for your client. So I'm going to go through the Aromareflex massage that I've got on the sheet that you received. Now, it's not a protocol. You can use the techniques you like, change things, do your own thing. This is just giving an example of maybe some slightly different techniques. I'm going to start with cleansing the feet. On the course, we talked about hydrolats as well. This is a tea tree hydrolat or flower waters. And I've got warm flannels, which I've warmed in the microwave. I keep mine in a baby wipe warmer, and I've put some of the hydrolat on them. So I'm going to start with using my warm flannels, and I just start on the feet. And the nice thing about the warm flannels is, especially in the winter, it just feels really nice, and it's a very nice way of cleansing the feet. You don't really want to, you want to use something really nice and natural, especially when you're doing your Aromareflex, but you could use this with all your treatments. So once you've cleansed the feet, you're going to start with adding your medium. So this is the blend that I made in the blending video. So this is vetiver, black pepper and tangerine. So it's an aches and pains blend. Now I'm going to, as you can see, going to use quite a lot more medium than I would in normal reflexology. So I'm going to put the medium in the palm of my hand, and then I'm going to warm it like that. If you warm it like that, as you can hear, it just is quite loud and it doesn't sound as nice. So you just slide your hands and warm the cream. And then we're going to start using effleurage to apply our cream. So I'm going to apply to both sides at a time. So in our handout, our effleurage, hand on the top of the foot, hand on the bottom of the foot, and then slides up the lower leg. Now you want to get the medium on both aspects and both limbs so that it really starts absorbing. So you're going to have more cream, as you can see, than you would normally. Then where we're going to, you can do in between each movement, you'd add your own movements and do more effleurage. So then we came to the circling around the heels, massaging it into the reproductive system. So for me, if I'm then giving my aftercare blend to my client and they've got hormonal issues, I get them to rub it around the different areas of the reflexes I want them to work for their home care. And especially with hormone balance, it's really good to get it to rub it around the heel area in the reproductive system. So then that circling can come right up the leg. This really allows us to get medium on both feet really well. So we have our circling, and then we're going to go through some simple other aspects. I'm now going to do the toe pump movement. Now the idea of you've got the warming up, you can include, if you do things like your spinal twists and more vigorous movements, put your own massage movements in here. I want to get you to include the toe pump movement. So this stimulates this upper lymphatic. So we want to get the lymphatics and the circulation really going. So I hold the ball of the foot and then I hold all the toes, and I've got this toe pump movement. So I'll do this on both sides to show you. Hold the ball of the foot, and then almost like pulling a pint, you flex all the toes. You can see really stimulating on the upper lymphatics. And then we move, you can add again, and it started to absorb in, which is really good. So I can add more cream So again, you wouldn't be doing this in normal reflexology. You wouldn't be adding so much. We want to get as much medium as possible. So we'll go back onto our effleurage, and then we're going to do some toe rotations. So the toe rotations, I'm going to isolate the bottom of the toe, and this is really working the metatarsal and phalange joint, which is where you get a rotation movement. So I want it more isolated to the bottom of the toes, again really stimulating for the lymphatics, the neck area obviously as well. So I'm going to go through, so you can do this several times. I'm going to do the other side. So the movement's nice and slowly and gently, and you can see with this movement I get, if I isolate the bottom of the toe, I get more of a rotation coming than if I'm just, so I'm below the phalange joints. Then I'm going to do my toe wave movement. Now this movement is really focusing on the phalange joint in the toe, which is a hinge joint. So we've got a nice toe wave movement. So this is a really nice fluid movement. So this is also really good for circulation issues, obviously neck issues as well, but sort of in the physical structure of the feet, really good for clients maybe who have arthritis and lack of mobility, cold feet, those sort of issues. And you work with your client's level of mobility, but it should feel like very fluid and relaxing. So we've got this toe wave, and you do that several times on both sides. Now we're coming into the diaphragm pump. So I'm sure a lot of you have done lots of different diaphragm movements. So this not only works the diaphragm, but through this central area, it also starts to stimulate the deep lymphatics in the central trunk of the body. So I isolate on the diaphragm line, my hand here, and I'm doing a pump movement. So I do that on both sides. So some people have less movement through the diaphragm, and that can be to do with not having much mobility in the transverse arch as well. So what you can do, instead of having your thumb horizontally, have your thumb vertically and then come over this way. So this again stimulating the deep circulation and releasing the diaphragm. So you want to encourage nice relaxed breathing through this. So I'd work through those areas. So a last sort of more stimulating movement before I would wrap one foot up and do my reflexology work, I'm going to show you on this side because otherwise the camera is going to be in the way, is sole to pavement. So this actually is much more vigorous. So actually it's still sort of gentle, but it's quite like a wake you up part of the treatment. So I would do that at the beginning on both sides because you don't want to be swapping feet halfway through and suddenly start doing that movement. But actually it's really nice, if you receive it, you start to feel how nice it is. So I'd wrap up this foot, have done my opening massage on this foot, and now this is where I'm a little bit more cream again, maybe before I wrap up that side, and then doing your reflexes, because we've got a lot more medium, you've got a lot more glide, so you need to adapt your techniques. So this way I'm going to do slow thumb walking, and what's really nice is it's really nice to slow the movements down. And in this way, we're really feeling into the reflexes. You see, if I do like really quick walking, I'm gonna glide a bit more. So nice, slow thumb walking, or you can use rotations. So you might, if you're working around the whole neck, use a lot more rotations, and you can really steady the toes and work through the toes in this way and push down through. So you're just stabilizing the foot working a bit slower and getting used to using a bit more medium. So again, you can, instead of just thumb walking like this, if you've got a bit more medium, you can feel like you're slipping a little bit. So you can use these rotations so that you're really stabilizing the toes, and you can still work as deeply depending on how you work. But a nice slow movement through the reflexes. The same if you're coming on to working through the torso and the digestive system, or working the liver. You may find, this is a technique we'll do at the end as well, but if you find with a bit more medium it's a bit glidey on the heel, then actually working through the heel using your knuckle, that glide makes it really helpful. So you can even work in a horizontal or vertical way. So it's just practicing adapting your treatments. So then once you've worked with your reflexes, you're going to come into a bit of a longer closing massage. So again, I'm putting more medium on. So I've worked the reflexes on both sides. I've opened my feet back out again. I like to bring the feet back together at the end, but you can do it in any way that suits your style of reflexology. So again, adding a bit more medium. You'll tend to find with different mediums, some absorb more than others. If you're using a wax, you'll use probably less of it than you will a cream, or my preferred lotions, sometimes they absorb in even more. So we've got spine tapping. I'm going to show you on this side. And just tapping down the spine stimulates the sort of central nervous system, but also as we ground and tap down, we ground the energy down from the head, which is much more calming. And this has also released stuck energy in the spine, very similar to a metamorphic technique, but just doing some spine tapping. I think especially if I find if they're quite stuck in the thoracic spine, that's really nice to do. So these are just some slightly different techniques that you might add in after you've done, you will have worked your spine in your reflexology session. So you can just add that. So, and you do that on both sides. And then again, we stimulated the lymph in the opening massage, and you need a bit more medium again for these. Now we're going to very gently work over the lymph and the dorsal aspect of the feet again. So we're going to start with this ulnar stroking. Now the ulnar stroking means you're using the ulnar bone here, the ulnar border of the hand. So you can do these one side at a time. I'll show you on this side, or both sides together. So I'm keeping my hand really relaxed. When you're practicing, make sure your elbows are dropped, they're not up at right angles, and your shoulders are relaxed. And then this should be a really light, fluid, wave-like motion. Now we're looking more at the sort of superficial lymphatics here. Doing some of the other movements, we worked that stimulated the deeper lymphatics, and now the lymphatics, that surface lymphatics, actually we want to work really lightly. It's also really calming at the end of your session. So it's lighter and slower and wave-like. So you can do it one side at a time, or you can do both sides at a time. And you can notice with this, if it feels a bit sticky, you need a bit more medium. So nice and slow. So it should be feeling really nice and relaxing. And then we are doing this 3-finger wave movement, which is you can use 3 or 4 fingers, mainly those 3 are in contact. A relaxed hand again, support under the foot, and this is the lymphatics again, and we're doing this slow wave-like movement. So we're working all the way down the lymphatics. And then you bring that across. And then stroke up the midline. So in that way you've stimulated all the lymphatics and then you're draining it into the cisternae chyli, the sort of central lymphatic vessels. So you can do that both sides at a time. Really nice at the end to bring the feet back together. So I do these movements several times. I'm just demonstrating them once, and you can practice them several times. So in your practice, you'll be doing the full reflexology treatment and adding in some of these. And then we've got lymphatic raindrops. So just light, very light tapoment over the dorsal aspect of the foot. And then bringing the deeper aspects of the feet together. Again, we can do this bringing 2 feet together or one side at a time. So you're going to do one side, hold the heel with the thumb, stroke down the zones. I come in from zone 5, zone 4, zone 3, zone 2, zone 1. So I call them zone pulls because you can also do them in this way where you're pulling down. So you can do it with the feet together, and you can be over the dorsal and the sole part of the foot. So that's a really nice way of bringing the feet back together. And then we're going to end with our spine stroke. So you can do this coming down the spine, do that on either side. And then I like to do it at the end, both sides together. Now I find either if you're going to do linking, where you linking up, you can link through the chakras on the feet, or linking through the different sort of points on the spine, or stroking, I find it feels nice to cross my hands over because it's easy. There's no kind of energetic problem with crossing your hands, so that's fine. So there, you've finished your, you can use, if you want to do diaphragm breathing or anything else to finish off your treatment or any more linking, it's really nice to put in at that point. But that's the end of the Aromareflex massage.